Pursuant to Executive Order D 2017-023, dated September 14, 2017, I hereby call to order the first extraordinary session of the Colorado Senate of the 71st General Assembly of the State of Colorado. Mr. Carpenter, would you please call the roll?
Senators Aguilar, Baumgardner, Cook, Coram, Court, Crowder, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Garcia, Gardner, Guzman, Hill, Holbert, John, Jones, Kagan, Gonzalez, Kerr, Lambert, Lumberg, Marble, Martinez Humenic, Merrifield, Moreno, Neville, Priola, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Tate, Todd, Williams, Zenzinger. Mr. President.
Here. With 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused, we have a quorum. Senator Finberg, would you please come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Morning, members. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Secretary of the Senate has received the executive order for the first extraordinary session of the 71st General Assembly. We'll forego the reading of the executive order, and it will be spread upon the pages of the journal. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of the first regular session of the 71st General Assembly be made the temporary rules of the first extraordinary session of the 71st General Assembly.
The motion before the body is to adopt the rules of the first regular session of the 71st General Assembly as the temporary rules of the first extraordinary session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for a moment of personal privilege by President Grantham.
All those in favor of a moment of personal privilege by President Grantham signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. President Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, even as I stand here, and I've been thinking about this all morning, I come before you because I still am not sure exactly how I'm going to say this. We all woke up to news this morning. We are here to do serious business. We weren't expecting this, but here we are, and we will do our duty. But it doesn't surprise anyone that there's more important things going on in this world than what's happening in this room today. Tragedy has struck. There are several in this room that I know have experienced such tragedy directly. Our hearts go out to you and continue to. Sometimes these things affect us indirectly. I woke up to this news this morning, and you look at this sometimes and you think, unfortunately, there but for the grace of God go I. And sometimes it's easily dismissed. And then you start getting the news of loved ones who were close to the situation. I woke up to this news and thought those same things, and then received the news later on that I had family at this very venue last night. And again, there but for the grace of God go I. I'm reminded of that when I heard the words of Father Sequeira this morning, and maybe in retrospect, I could have left it at those words because they were perfectly wonderful and adequate. But folks, I felt it necessary to at least share on what's on my heart, that for all the rancor, for all the politics that happen between us, there are still things that draw us together. Sometimes those things are tragic and unfortunate and god-awful things that no one should have to live through. I thank God for the safety of my family, but there are many that are suffering today. And I would ask for your prayers, for your thoughts for these folks today. 58 families. Can we even fathom that? Over 600 injured. As we proceed on through this day, and we'll have plenty of other things to talk about, let's at least on both sides remember that there are more important things going on in this world that are far more critical to a lot of people this day. And let's remember them in our prayers and in our thoughts. And if you will join me in a brief moment of silence.
The Senate will stand in a moment of silence, and the Senate chimes will ring. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that a committee be appointed to notify the House that the Senate is organized and ready for business.
Motion before the body is to appoint a committee to notify the House that the Senate is organized and ready for business. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it, and a committee will be appointed. Senators Baumgardner, Priola, and Williams are appointed to notify the House that the Senate is organized and ready for business. Senators, you are excused. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee be appointed to notify the governor that the Senate is organized and ready for business.
The motion before the body is to appoint a committee to notify the governor that the Senate is organized and ready for business. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and a committee will be appointed. Senators Sonnenberg, Neville, and Zenzinger are appointed to notify the governor that the Senate is organized and ready for business. Senators, you are excused. Colleagues, as we await the House committee to come notify us, we will stand in a brief recess, awaiting them. Colleagues, we will remain in recess so that we can have the committee from the House please approach, come to the well, and give us your report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House
Representative
is.
Winter, yes, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House is organized and ready to work. Let's get this done.
Anyone else? Fantastic, short and sweet, to the point. Thank you, House members. You are hereby dismissed. Colleagues, as soon as our own committees return, we will come back to order and we'll proceed to the rest of business. We'll be remaining in recess. Senate will come back to order. Will the committee to notify the governor please report? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee is pleased to report that the governor now knows that we are ready to do business. Interestingly enough, the discussion down there focused on Las Vegas as well. So indeed, our priorities and as we put things in priority, the governor recognizes that as well. So we are indeed ready to do business.
Thank you, Senators. Will the committee to notify the House please come to the well and report? Senator Baumgardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House is generally the way they are. They're disheveled and running around, and they act like they're ready to go. But when we got there, they were reading the proclamation at length. And so they say they're ready. I'm not sure if they are or not, but they act like they are.
Senator Williams.
Mr. President, House of Representatives, the lower chamber has been notified that the upper chamber is organized and ready to do business.
Excellent. Mr. Carpenter, introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 17B1 by Senators Kagan and Guzman concerning clarification that retail marijuana sales are subject to sales taxes levied by certain limited purpose governmental entities.
Transportation. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we will recess here. I believe there is at least one request for a announcement. So we'll do that momentarily. But we have one bill that has been introduced. It has been assigned to committee, so the committee chair will make an announcement as to where that committee will meet when. The Senate will then recess, and we will presume to come back. We will recess until this afternoon or when that committee completes its business. We have no idea how long that committee hearing might last. So we will set a time. The President and I will go discuss that now while announcements are going on. And then I will announce that time. But please be aware that it will be or upon adjournment of the Transportation Committee. We will then come back to the floor. Presumably, there could be second reading. And I also understand that there is a bill in the House, so I presume that we should all plan to be here tomorrow. But by the time that we are done here today, but by the time we adjourn, we will set a time to come back tomorrow. Whether that's 9 a.m. or some other time, we will know later today. So at this time, Mr. President, I will stand aside. I think we have one announcement for a committee chair, and then we'll probably proceed on to announcements.
Senator Baumgartner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of Transportation Committee, we will be meeting in room 352 at 20 till 11 or 10:40, whichever you want to say it.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, colleagues. And I, too, want to lift up the sentiments that have been expressed on the tragedy in Las Vegas. Also want us to remember all of our friends and families that have been affected so direly in Texas, in Florida, and in Puerto Rico at this time, that they are not back to whole yet, and so to lift them up. But this morning I'm here to introduce some special guests that we have from Somalia. There is a program called International Visitor Leadership Program, and this past week Representative Ransom and I met with a group of ladies from Somalia. There are 3 senators and 2 members of parliament. I will ask them to stand up here and ask that you welcome them and please shake their hand, help them to feel welcome before they go over to the House. And we are delighted that you are here. We're delighted that you were able to be in our beautiful Senate chambers, and now you will go over to the House chambers. But again, please join me, colleagues, in welcoming them to the beautiful state of Colorado. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Martinez-Humana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'd also like to make an announcement for tomorrow morning. The Joint Technology Committee will be meeting at 7:30 a.m., and we will be meeting in Senate Committee Room 352.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, although it's not in your calendar, is on the House calendar, but not the Senate calendar. The Joint Budget Committee is scheduled right now to meet upon adjournment tomorrow for sort of an extraordinary 1331 hearing. So if you have any questions about what we're hearing or what we're going to be discussing, see me. I have a copy of the 1331 request, but it's not on the schedule, so we'll add that to the schedule for tomorrow upon adjournment, Joint Budget Committee. Thank you.
Senator Hill. And Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'm sure you have received emails and seen some of that info. Senator Moreno, myself, Representative Garnett, and Representative Norberg are hosting a charity kickball tournament tonight to show off and demonstrate our equal inabilities and athletic prowess at any kind of sport, including kickball. So it should be a fun evening, 7 o'clock at Metro State.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, if you need to work out your aggression, which I suspect some of you will, this is the perfect venue for it. So please join us for a kickball tournament. It's for a good cause. All proceeds will go to the Red Cross to benefit the victims of the hurricanes in Texas and Puerto Rico and Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, Senators. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we do have Senate Bill 1 for the special session. Is going to transportation. We will recess the Senate until 1:30 p.m. or until 1/2 hour after the committee adjourns, if that's after 1:30. So we are planning to be back on the floor at 1:30. If that committee hearing goes past 1:30, or even up until 1 or so. We'll give the members some time. If they don't have a chance to eat, we may delay longer. But the soonest that you need to be back here in the Senate chamber would be 1:30 p.m. today. Everybody clear? Cool. Mr. President, if there are no further announcements, I move the Senate stand in recess until 1:30 p.m. today or 1/2 hour after the Transportation Committee meeting adjourns.
You've heard the motion. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion is adopted and the Senate will be in recess until 1:30 p.m. today or until a half hour after adjournment of the Transportation Committee, whichever is later. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will be in recess.